Greetings to one and all. I am Saptarshi Mukherjee from IIT BHU and I'll be talking about microstructural evolution in vanadium alloys alloying with oxygen and titanium. Since time is very limited, I'll rush through the introduction. So why the research drive for vanadium alloys? As has been pointed out by several researchers over the last couple of decades, vanadium alloyed with several transition elements emerges as a potential candidate for high temperature structural applications. Apart from that, Akiba Niba had postulated that vanadium alloys can be a potent candidate for an efficient metal hydride battery. The fundamental patented alloy in the structural application sector is the vanadium 4 chrome 4 titanium, but that too suffers from several issues, the most detrimental one of them being the interstitial impurity effect on the mechanical property. There are typical limitations and scope for fundamental research in vanadium alloys. The rest of the presentation is broadly divided into two categories. One is the oxygen incorporation effect and the other is the fate of vanadium when it is alloyed with titanium. So what we did first was to pulse laser heat extremely pure vanadium pellets under controlled oxygen atmosphere and performing its cross-section helium sample. The electron energy loss spectra clearly reveals oxygen pickup and that it gradually decreases as one moves from the surface. The experimental phase contrast image shows clear atomic column contrast and an intensity distribution profile along 15 such columns shows a non-uniform distribution in intensity as well as the atomic column distance, which does not match with the simulated result. What we did next was to generate a series of thickness defocus map centered around the Scherzer defocus, and what we could find was intensity delocalization at several parts of the image. You can also see from the diffraction contrast image that there are fine needle ship morphology coming from the 111 zone axis pattern, and that the phase contrast image related Fourier transform shows non-trivial disparity in the 110 type of family of planes. So our hunch of the intensity delocalization is due to the incorporation of strain due to oxygen. So what we did next was to simulate thickness defocus maps under various amounts of static strain in JEMS, and we could find as static strain introduction increased, that intensity delocalization increased. The next part of the work is the first principles calculation, where vanadium supercell along with oxygen at its energetically octahedral void has been simulated using the Vienna ab initio simulation package, and it's worth mentioning that this part of the work has been done by an BTech undergrad student of our department. So what he found out was there is a systematic rise in the volumetric strain with more and more uptake of oxygen, but that strain is not uniform throughout the matrix. But if we assume a supercell of vanadium with the blue atoms being the body-centered positions and the red being the equatorial positions, and if we systematically introduce oxygen in the octahedral voids, there is a elongation along the body-centered positions, which leads to a polymorphic transformation where a cubic crystal structure transforms to a body-centered tetragonal crystal structure. The next part of the presentation will be focused with the effect of titanium, and this is the results from the vanadium 10 weight % titanium as cast alloy, where we can find the 001 zone axis pattern and the corresponding right field image. We can find alpha titanium precipitates along with random bend contours, which is due to the solidification shrinkage, also viscous shaped morphology. So placing the field limiting aperture one such viscous shaped morphology, we find a complete destruction in the 4-pole symmetry of a cube, in that the 110 family of planes and the 200 type of family have clearly non-trivial disparity in the T-spacing. A relatively higher mag bright field image shows ellipsoidal morphology of alpha titanium precipitates of the size range of 10 to 20 nanometer. Probing the 10 weight % alloy further, we can find 3 face plates of the tetragonal whiskers, and the depression pattern suggests that there is an in-plane rotation of all the 3 variants. The whisker ship morphology is clearly evident here. These 2 depression patterns are the one from the same region marked as E, with a moderate contrast in the matrix, and the depression pattern clearly suggests that instead of a single solid solution, there are 2 solid solutions, one rich in titanium and the other rich in vanadium. vanadium 15 weight percent as-cast alloy shows a development of an orientation relationship of the alpha titanium precipitate with that of the matrix, and the whiskers are also found here, but they seem to have a clearly favorable growth direction. Upon a two-beam setup, we could find localized regions of phase separation, and D and E forms a bright field dark field pair, and we can see clearly two distinct types of chemical wavelength modulation of 13 to 14 nanometer and 8 to 9 nanometer, and that the lamellar structure results because of alternating B-rich and titanium-rich domains. The 30 weight percent alloy also shows diffuse scattering from all the zone axis patterns except from 111, and there is a highly anisotropic growth behavior of the lath that is observed. Concluding my slide, the systematic introduction of oxygen induces polymorphic phase transformation in pure B, but it also, the accidental pickup of oxygen also leads to similar transformation effect, and that the system tends to phase separate instead of forming a single solid solution according to Hume-Rothery's rule. So I would like to thank our funding sources, and thank you one and all for your time.